correspondent in Washington, Kethevane Gorjestani, with more on Harris's trip to El Paso, Texas.
There has been criticism as to the timing of the trip, first of all. Kamala Harris, ever since Joe Biden tasked her with dealing with the question of migration and of migration at the U.S.-Mexico border specifically, there has been pressure for her to actually travel to the border as a vice president. And so far, she had really refused or dismissed the idea that she really needed to be physically at the border to deal with the issue of migration. She did travel to Guatemala and Mexico recently, dealing with the root causes of the issue of migration. But critics on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, were sort of pressing her, saying that you cannot deal with the issue of immigration unless you actually make it to the border. And there was this interview recently where she was asked why she was not making the trip to the border, and she sort of dismissed that question, saying that it was really a non-starter, and she had that reply saying that she also hadn't been to Europe, which brought even more criticism, saying that she really did not understand how important it was for her to be at that border. And then there was the announcement by the former president, Donald Trump, that he was actually going to go to the border with the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, who is a Republican. That trip is planned for next week. And so the Republicans now are even adding to the criticism, saying that, well, if the former president hadn't decided to go to the border, the vice president, Kamala Harris, would probably have postponed that trip even more. But really, the issue here is a thorny one, and really Democrats as well as Republicans were at least agreeing on the fact that she needed to go to the border to see what was actually going on. And there is more criticism for the choice of the location. She is going to El Paso, Texas. And a lot of people, again, on both sides are saying, well, that's good. She's going to the border, but El Paso is also a way of not going to where the situation is the worst. They're saying that she should have gone further down the Rio Grande Valley in places where the number of border crossings are way more than what is going on in El Paso, and that by going to El Paso, she's sort of avoiding the worst of the situation and going to a place where she can be sort of safe. So this trip is really going to be very key in Kamala Harris's policy and how it's seen going forward as to how this Biden administration deals with this very complicated situation at the border.